Ask Steve. This is a live mule and donkey clinic. We're talking mules and donkeys for the next hour. And so my name's Dave. This is Steve Edwards, and we're super glad that you're here. Steve, you gave me a little update right before we went live on that finger there. What's going on?
Hey, man, I mean to tell you, we're using that thing, and over 14 stitches later, I just took the stitches out yesterday. So I just took those out, and we're done with that situation. So that's great. I can start using it.
Good deal. And as a matter of fact, you were busy over the last weekend. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the Hoosier?
Oh, man, was that fun. They have a brand new venue there. Oh, beautiful fairgrounds, lots of sunlight. The other buildings and this sort of thing was nice, but it was downtown, and it was tough with traffic and yada, yada. Anyway, nice facility, but it's more country. There's lots of sidewalks. You can walk outside. Venues wise, there are several buildings with, all kinds of saddle companies, of all kinds of equine tack, booths of all kinds. You can't imagine what was there. And then clinicians. Seen Pat Pirelli, man, what a great guy. Had a good time visiting with him. He come up and visited with me, and we visited a little bit. And then, of course, there's Ken McNabb. Ken McNabb is an awesome trainer, and he was there doing great clinics. He really did awesome. And a lot of other different clinics. Hey, there was even a lady there. Actually, she was in my clinic last year with her mule. She shoots off of her mule with a bow and arrow.
No kidding.
Woo! I mean, to tell you. So she was doing a little clinic there. That was pretty awesome. Everything you can imagine, from trailer repair up to mules. I mean, they were driving, they were riding. It was incredible. But the only problem we had, Dave, is Mother Nature did not agree with us. She rained on us, and they actually, when the trailers and trucks started leaving, they were using tractors to pull them off.
I'll bet.
Oh, it was pretty tough, but beautiful venue. Man, I am looking forward to the future. It was really nice of them to invite me back. They only invite us clinicians every second to third year. So for them to back me up and hire me again this year was phenomenal. But you know what, Dave? It's only for one reason and one reason only, and that was the mule and donkey people spoke up and said, hey, we want to see Steve Edwards there, and wham, there I am.
That's what they listen to more than anybody else, what the people want. I say give the people what they want.
Yep. That's what they're paying for. They want to come in and see that stuff. And, Pat Pirelli, he did such a good job of explaining things. He's really changed the horse community when it comes down to the family horseman. He did an awesome job.
Very good. Well, I'm glad that it was a good weekend. I'm glad that a lot of folks got out there. Yeah, you got yourself a new mug there. I'll ask you to tell me about that in a second. Astra's here. We got Nicole here. We've got Haley saying, hey, Steve. Nicole in Oregon. We've got Eileen. Hello, everyone. Raining, 47 degrees in Nebraska today. Nicole says 79 degrees and sunny, so kind of both sides there. We've got Shadow. I hope I'm saying that right. Shadow, hi from Pride, Louisiana. Tularosa checking in with Gary Green, Lori Brown, Ridge Spring, South Carolina. Love my mule. We love hearing that. That's good. Kevin Albright, you should see the stack of business cards our family got from Steve. Great to see him. Business cards. Right?
Yes, business cards, yes.
That's right. Natasha says, hey there, I'm an archer clinician. It was great seeing you again this year, Steve. Us mule folks were so excited that they got you back again, and it's always awesome to be able to go out there and represent that mule and donkey group, because a lot of times people, you've heard over and over, Steve, folks saying, it's just equine is equine. And it's no, they're a lot different. And so we're doing what we can to make sure that people know that God made these animals different. And as stewards over creation, we got to respect them, understand them, and make sure that that they're listening and that they're getting the work done that we need to get done, but they enjoy their lives as well,
That's right. You betcha. So that was Natasha is on there too from the archery? Oh, great. Awesome. Great.
Awesome.
She's an awesome writer.
Yeah, very good. Well, hey, you know what? This last week, folks, if you're not following on Facebook or you're not actually or actively checking out our post, there was one over the last couple days. Folks put a ton of their pictures of themselves with their mules in the comment section, and it's fun seeing all the different riders out there just loving on their animals and their animals loving on them. So, hey, we'll tell you how this works real quick. We're going to take the next 55 minutes, answer as many questions as we can. We typically get to all of them. Last week we stayed a little bit long to make sure we got to all of them. So we're here for you. You guys drive the conversation 100%. The three things we ask is, if anybody's been watching the last several weeks, they know exactly what we ask. Number one, that you just say that you're here. We want to know that we're not alone, and we want to make sure that everybody else out there watching knows that they're not alone. So say that you're here, where you're watching from. You can share what the weather's like. That's the first thing we ask. Just make yourself known. The second thing we ask is that you not be shy about asking questions. There's no dumb questions. There's no questions that we get tired of answering. There's no questions that we get tired of elaborating on. So ask your question. If you're thinking about it, chances are somebody else is thinking about it. So go ahead and put it out there, and we will do our best to answer it so that you can get moving with your mule, with your donkey, and get the results that you deserve. And then the last thing, and this is really what helps us continue to do these and get in front of more people, is ask that you share this with your Facebook feed. So if you are watching on Facebook, there's a share button down at the bottom. Just click that, and you can go ahead and say what you love about watching us every single Wednesday. You can just post it without any comments. You can tag some of your friends and family if you know that they'd appreciate it. But that's how we get more and more people coming in here. And our mission here is to make sure that every single equine person to the ends of the earth knows that the mule and the donkey is different. And so we're not going to stop until every single equine person knows that the mule and the donkey are different. And so we're asking that you would help us with that. So those are the three rules. Make yourself known, make your question asked, and make sure you share. Steve, you ready to get going with our first question?
Hey, let's go. Let her rip.
All right. So the first question I got, this one comes from Mark. He emailed in. He says, information. Growing up, my father would say something about staying in your traces, meaning do what you're supposed to do. I thought that traces referred to the leather harness on mules what mules and horses wore. Can't seem to find this on the internet. Can you clarify that for me? What are traces? Have you ever heard of them?
Oh yeah, traces are driving harness. It is the matter of fact, darn, my mules are out there. I was going to say I bring them and show you. But what it amounts to is from the collar back to the wagon, they are leather long straps. And they're usually 8 to 12 foot long, depending on the situation. And on traces, that's more for single driving carts and buggies. When you have tugs, they are leather long straps that go from the collar down to the wagon with adjusting chains on the end. I've got my team of mules out there. Whoop, here they are right here. Matter of fact, Susan just brought them in. Susan just brought them.
They shall appear. Thank you, Susan.
Yeah, there you go. So right here, can we see that right there?
Yep.
Okay, you can see this has a chain on the end.
Yep.
And then this is a tug. It goes from the collar down to the adjusting chains. That's called a tug. When it is a trace, it is coming straight back. It is leather, and they have holes punched into it that goes into an evener. Now, he says stay between the traces. There are actually is actually a tug between each one of these mules. So you've got a mule here with a pair of traces that come back on each side, on right and left, and these are called tugs. But when he says, the dad says, now that's an old-timey saying.
Yeah.
In other words, if you're between the traces, you're doing things correctly. But if the mule has a leg on the outside of the trace, there's going to be a wreck. So it's kind of like straight and narrow going through this world, and the Lord will treat you good.
Awesome. Very good. Well, thanks for clarifying that for me. I know that Mark's going to be happy about that one too. The next question we got, and folks, I've got a couple to get us started here, and then I'll be hopping over into the feed and grabbing the ones that are coming up live. The live questions get the priority, so make sure that you put it in there, and I'll get to it. Yvonne on Facebook says, "Hi, Steve. I met you at the Hoosier Fair this past weekend. I ordered one of your come-along ropes. Here's her question. My donkeys are both minis. How do I find a halter that will fit them? Do I need to measure them? Thank you for your help." So what about fitting a halter to a mini and a mammoth for that matter?
Well, I have halters that are the regular size, and then I have halters for the mammoths, and so that's not a problem. All of my halters are adjustable. Now, that simply means you can adjust it down to the size. Now, here's the thing with minis. Man, a mini can have a pretty good size head, or they can have a little tiny head. But that's the great thing about my rope halters. They are adjustable. And the come-along rope, of course, is completely adjustable. But I've got regular halters. They're going to, quote, look big. But remember, they are a tool. They're not for show. If you want a show halter, then that's when you go into the braided nose band and this sort of thing.
Awesome. Thanks for adding that information there. I know that's something that people are always concerned about, is they want the best for their animal, and they want to make sure that it's not too big, that it's not too small. We get questions a lot of times about the saddle too. What size saddle do I need for my animal? You want to go ahead and answer that question right there. Folks are always asking, I want to make sure that I get the right size saddle for my animal. How do I measure for a saddle?
Okay. Right size for the animal, that doesn't mean a whole lot. Because I have one tree, one set of bars that fits on everything. And I know that blows everybody's minds. But like I shared with a lady today over in Missouri, they're the show me state, right? So like I told her, you walk into a tack store, and any tack store you go into, there are two basic trees. So it makes no difference what manufacturer. You have a semi-quarter horse and a full quarter horse. So you have a wider one and a narrow one. And so with my tree has proven itself for well over 25 years now, and it works. So what we want to do, I know the saddle is going to fit the animals. So we fit you. So personally, I'm about 200 pounds, and I'm 5'6", and I ride a 16-inch, have pretty much all my life. And like I told this lady today from Missouri, I can't really get away with this any way I say it, but it's not our rump size, it is our thigh size. So setting in the saddle, 2 fingers from the pommel to your thigh, and away you go is an average fit. It's where you start.
Awesome. Always helpful stuff. Like I said, folks are always concerned about the sizing. And if y'all have any questions as you're measuring for different things, just send us a message. You can call Steve, 602-999-6853. You don't have to remember that. It's on the website. You can call him, leave a voicemail, and he'll help you get the right measurements you need for whatever it is you're buying. Or you can send us a message, support@muleranch.com. So that's a great question from Yvonne. Let's see here. I want to make sure we say hi to all of the additional people who are hopping in here. Let's see. We've got Debbie Newby. We've got David Scholl. Packing our bags right now. We leave Australia tomorrow to come and visit. We're extremely excited. Yeah, David and Dee, I'm excited to meet you guys too. Steve and I are going down to Vail. Steve, why don't you tell us real quickly what's going on down in Vail? Why you keep going down there, and why I'm joining you this time?
Well, Vail, Arizona, he's a friend, but the guy who's running the ranch is Randy, and I've known Randy for a lot of years. Taught him how to pack. He was one of my packers at the World Championships, but he's managing the Andre Ranch. And, you know, I've sold all of my cows and mules and this sort of thing, so this gives me a place to go and ride, especially now that I can ride. Gives me a place to go to work cows, and I enjoy it. That's where I'm going. And it happens to be that some folks from Australia, David and his lovely wife, they're coming to Arizona, and we originally was trying to get them to a ride at the Grand Canyon, but things got kind of tough up there. So anyway, I told them we're going to be down at the Andrea Ranch. They're coming down there, and we're going to be doing some videoing of my saddles and trees and this sort of thing. My grandkids, my practicing grandkids, all 3 boys of David's, are going to be down there, and that's going to be quite an experience. I'm looking forward to that. But that's what we're going to be doing. You know, this ranch is not a dude ranch; it's a working ranch, so it's not just someplace anybody can go to. And it was very nice of the owners to allow me to have a couple friends over, which is rare. So anyway, that's what I do. I go down there and punch cows and ride mules.
That's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, so my 5-year-old Isaac, he was telling me this morning, he goes, will I fall off a mule? I said, no, Mr. Steve's there. He's going to take care of you. He goes, but how can he take care of me? I said, that's what Mr. Steve does. He makes sure that we're safe when we get on the mules. Of course, we know that there's never really a safe place, but there's lots of things that you can do. And he goes, will I just walk and lead the mule? I said, no, buddy. I said, you'll get to sit up on top of a mule. He goes, will Mr. Steve walk and lead the mule? I said, maybe. We'll have to see how it goes. Very concerned, but very excited. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got Albert and Robert and Craig watching us over on YouTube. Hello, folks. Really glad that you're hanging out with us. We've got Lori Brown. We've got Karen Whitehead. We've got Karen Heatwool. We've got Jackie. We've got Debbie. Lots of great folks. The next question that we want to ask here, this one's from Walter. He posted it on Facebook, and he said, hi, Steve. I received the remainder of my order today. I'm very satisfied with your saddle and tack. We love hearing that, Steve. He says, my question to you is my wife's mule threw me off due to tightening the rear cinch too tight and slipping in his flanks. This has been 4 months ago, and I have not attempted to ride him since. Can you give me some advice on how I should ease myself back into the saddle with confidence? Dusty is really good, easygoing mule. I have noticed him to be a little bit more shy when being approached. Thank you, and have a very blessed evening.
Hey, Walter, sorry to hear you got hurt. Evidently, you missed the part on the video that I send out with everybody. I send a video out that tells you place the saddle like this, do the breeching, but there's one very, very explicit part, folks, and it says tie the cinches together, hobble them together. In the video, I talk about a nylon string that I like to use and tie them on. But now I send you out a leather strap that you can buckle them together. The reason that rear cinch went back is because you didn't have it attached to the front cinch to keep it from going back. You know, again, Dave, I realize that not everybody can sit and watch the video and remember everything. I know that happens, but that's the thing about my videos. I try to explain the details. And folks, when you're putting 2 cinches on a mule, make sure you have the hobble strap between the 2 cinches to keep them right here. Now, they can be 4 to 6 inches apart, and it's all going to depend on how long your mule is, and that's really important. Yeah, so anyway, and we're doing an article on cinches and the back cinch and that sort of thing too, huh, Dave?
Yeah, we are. We've got a lot of good stuff that's coming out pretty soon. One of the things that that you mentioned that we'll be doing in Vail is we're actually going to be recording a mule fitting, a mule saddle course, and within that we'll get some video there also of cinches to go along with the articles that we've got. So cinches is one that folks continue to have lots of questions about, sizing and whatnot. As a matter of fact, since we're talking about it, I'm going to bring up the next question. This one comes from a Dave. He says, how long should your cinch be on the mule's belly? My mule is a very stocky 14.2 960. During our phone conversation, you had said to get the 28-inch front and the 30-inch rear, but I feel they are too short. I see in your catalog description it says 28 and 30 and rated from 600 to 800s. Did I get them too short? I feel like they're too short because they're very low up on the belly. What do you have to say there about the sizing?
Well, you know, about the only thing I can really do is do a generalized. My wife's mule is 14.2 when she was still around, and she carried a 28 in the front and a 30 in the rear. But, you know, folks, it doesn't make any difference where your cinches are from the top D-ring to the cinch D-ring. It really makes no difference. Now, if it's way down on the bottom, that makes a difference. But, you know, there's one way to measure, and that is measures the circumference of the mule in the front and in the rear about where your D-rings are going to go. Take that measurement, cut it in half, and then cut another 4 inches off. You'll come up with a measurement. And usually your 14-hand mules up to about 14 and a half, they're going to be carrying a 28 in the front and up to a 32 in the back. But, you know, I can tell you, Dave, that in the past I have seen some mules that were quite obese, and so they kind of got over that norm, you know. But and folks can always send me a picture as well.
Yeah, that's good. We've got a few more people here. We've got Teresa Eddy, we've got Tammy Breed, Glenn Goggins, Micah Kinney, Edie Wick. Let's see who else we have. We've got Tracy Foley. Lots of folks coming in here. Let's see. Next question we got. Let me see. I just had it here. Where did it go? So Facebook doesn't make it super easy for me to tag these, and I just lost it. Let me ask this one. It's best rear cinch. It says, I'm a new mule owner. What is the best rear cinch to use on my mule, and how tight does it need to be? You might have answered that a little bit. I generally ride with a looser front cinch than rear, but this rear cinch usually moves forward even though it's tight. Anything else to add up on what you just said there?
Yeah, here's the deal. With my D-rings on my saddle, they are placed way different than the average D-ring. So my rear D-ring should be about right to come down. So when it comes down to the cinches, my cinches are what I designed. They're perforated neoprene that goes against the animal. That creates sweat, which helps it to cool and lubricate. On the bottom side of the cinch is Cordura, and that helps to keep it clean and brushed and this sort of thing. Now, what makes my cinch also different is it has elastic on the inside, so it expands and contracts and gives with the animal. So that's what I like to use, and then I like to use a nylon latigo on the right and on the left. When you use billets, you're not able to center the cinches correctly.
All right, here we go. So we had a couple folks saying that the connection was a little bit buggy. So I just changed some of my internet settings. So hopefully that'll be better for folks. Folks, if you're having any trouble or whatnot, you can restart or refresh the browser or restart the app on your phone if you're watching on your phone. Hopefully we've got it. I had 4 or 5 people saying. So Lori Brown says here, should you have down hair coat in the summer? I have a mammoth mule with very thick hair, and I know she is hot in the summer, but of course she sheds some off of the winter coat. Thank you.
Is this the Lori Brown? Is this the Lori Brown that I know? It's a veterinarian's girlfriend, anyway. So a lot of people get concerned about the shedding off of the hair. When the mule is ready to shed hair, he will, and every time you comb, you're going to have a little bit more hair. And of course, if you're showing, then people don't like to have a hairy mule, so you put blankets on to get them to warm up. But you know, I've had mules that literally have had long hair year round. So
awesome, that's good to know. The next question that I got here, this one's one we've never really had before, and it's a pretty good one. From Jack on Facebook, he says, Steve, can you give us tips on cleaning the earwax out of your mule's ears? Maybe they'll listen better. My mule isn't ear shy at all. She goes into a trance and will drop her head down to knee high if you keep scratching or rubbing her ears. Thanks, Jack.
Hi, Jack. Number one, folks, leave the hair in the mule's ears. Now, I know that a lot of people show and they clean all the hair out. Don't do that. That hair is to help keep the bugs out and to help it clean. All right, what I like to do is I'll take these rubber gloves and put them on, and then I'll put some Vaseline on my fingers, and then as I'm rubbing their ears and this sort of thing, I'll rub that around in there, and then I'll let that set for 15, 20 minutes, and then I'll go back in with a set of these real cheap cotton roping gloves. You can get them for like almost 25 for $5. They're pretty inexpensive, easy to clean. And then I'll come in there with those cotton gloves and I'll wipe them out. But really, you know, that wax in there is really good to keep the bugs at bay, because when they go crawling around in there, they get hung up. Then the mule can shake his head and throw the bug out, you know.
Hey, real quick, Steve, I have one quick question. I just want to make sure, is your laptop cable, the power cable plugged in?
Yep, power cable plugged in. Everything, yep, you betcha. All cool. Fired up.
Just wanted to make sure. So this next question that I've got, very simple, from Jerry, says whole oats or Varis rolled oats. I don't know what Varis rolled oats are. Can you explain what those are? And then should we do Varis rolled oats or whole oats? Okay,
your rolled oats are simply an oat that's been flattened out, is about the best way to tell you. And they use that for feeding cattle to fatten them up and this sort of thing. I prefer whole oats. Whole oats will give you the energy, won't give you the fattening agent. And I always tell everybody, you're going on a trail ride, take whole oats with you, put your nose bag on, let them eat all the whole oats they can eat while you're saddling. Once they're done, pull the nose bag off, go on your ride, then they'll burn the energy off. Do not keep graining your mules every day. You're not fattening up a steer or a hog for butcher. So they don't need to grain every day. Only when you're getting ready to climb in the saddle and ride, that gives them the energy and help the top line to get your ride on.
Very good. So next question I got, this one comes from Karen. She's watching. She says, I'm watching from Virginia. We're thinking about taking our mules to western Colorado to hunt elk. I'm wondering how to protect mule legs from cactus spines. That's something we know about here in Arizona. What do you have to say?
You know what? Once them mules get pricked a time or two, they start finding out where those cactus are and work their way around them. It's, you know, I've ridden mules in Arizona for, 40 some years anyway, and them mules get to where they can pick their way through it. Where you usually have a problem is in southern Colorado, and you have a cactus called legeche, and it can be several acres of the darn stuff, and it's actually a miniature version of the Spanish dagger, which is the same stuff that they make tequila out of, you know. You know, I wouldn't worry about it. That mule will find his way, he'll pick his way, and he'll find his way to get around that cactus. If he has to go a half a mile to get around a cactus patch, he'll do it.
Yeah. So one of the things, it may shock folks because I'm here with you every single week, but I've only ridden a mule once. Now, I've been around them a lot, but I've only ridden once, and it was Steve's wife's mule, Stacy. It was several years ago, probably about 9 years ago now. But I was up riding her, and we got to a little ravine where he had to go down, come back up, and I was looking at this, and I'm just like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And Steve said, just let her go, and she'll take you where she needs to go. And it was just amazing to see how she knew exactly what to do. She was familiar with it. She knew where she was going to go. You could see her thinking about putting her foot, one right foot in front of the other. It's amazing how smart these animals become. And when you're saying they'll know how to spot them and kind of pick out those spots and avoid them, I can't say that I've seen that, but I've seen the logic that they use, and I totally believe it. I totally believe that would happen. Just so smart. So smart.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the next question that we've got here, this one's from Shadow, says, what is the best bit for a young green mule to start with? So I'm going to put a link to our bit article, but do you want to talk real quick, Steve, the best bit to start this young mule with?
Well, the thing about the young mules is you're building a foundation for their life. And so when you're looking to start one, whether it be a mule with a problem or whether it be a young mule, you want to frame them up. Top of the hip, top of the wither, top of the head, framed up, and nose on the vertical. When they're straight and they're framed up like that, that rounds out their back, drives their hind end on them, and gives you a nice ride, but most of all, it makes them comfortable. So one of the downsides is folks want to be soft with their mule, and I understand that. And Mr. Green, he's on the phone. I mean, he's watching us right now, and he's been doing some training and asked us questions as well. Here, folks, listen. I have seen more cut tongues from smooth snaffle bits than any one bit out there. And a smooth snaffle bit, you wouldn't think it'd be a problem. But here's the problem, folks. When you're riding, you want your hands to be like your hands are on the steering wheel. And you only turn your wrist. That's all. You don't pull. When you pull, they're going to brace against you and go against you. So I can go into all kinds of information there on that. But what do I start with? I start with my Mule Rider's martingale. It's a 5-inch mouthpiece, and it makes no difference unless it happens to be a great big old draft animal where I would go to a 6-inch. But otherwise, this 5-inch pretty much takes care of all the mouths. I like to see an average of a 1/2 inch on each corner of the mouth. But the Mule Rider's martingale sets the nose, bounces the head, and then the rider themselves can do the stopping and this sort of thing. Like I was sharing with Mr. Green, you ask, tell, demand. So you ask, whoa, right, left. Then you tell, right, left, then you demand, right, left, and keep on going until they stop. And like I told Mr. Green, hey, if you got the Grand Canyon in front of you, you don't want that donkey, that mule to keep on going. So go back and forth as fast as you can go, as hard as you can go. And look, if he gets a strawberry patch on a corner, it'll grow back. He was the one that caused it. But you will see, after you do that, that donkey, that mule will be softer and better and easier.
Very good. So I put a link to both the Mule Bit article as well as the Mule Rider's martingale in the comment section. So if y'all want to check those out, that'll kind of go into more detail about what Steve's talking about. Real quick, I just want to say to anyone who's just now hopping on, joining us a little bit into the broadcast, my name's Dave. This is Steve. We show up every Wednesday to talk mules and donkeys for about an hour. Sometimes we go a little bit long. But we try to get to as many mule and donkey questions as we can. And really, I said this a couple seconds ago, but what we're trying to do is make sure all of the equine folks out there know that there's a difference between the mule and the donkey from horses, and they know what those differences are so that they can be better caretakers of the animal. So there's 3 things we ask. Number 1, that you go ahead and put your name and where you're watching from in the comment section. Number 2, you ask any question you have. And number 3, go ahead and share the broadcast. Those are the only 3 things we ask. The next question that we've got, this one's from Jeremy. He left a comment on this Facebook broadcast saying, what's harder on a mule, pulling a wagon or a person riding?
Well, actually the person riding. And the reason that is you're setting directly into their spine, right on top of it. That spine should hook together like this. Unfortunately, because a lot of people ride heavy on their hands and holding on to the mule, the spine, instead of being here, is like this. So the mule was never designed for us to sit on their back. That's why I spent so much time trying to figure out what's the most comfortable way. Can they pull a wagon? Oh man, mules are awesome on that. But it's not near so hard on them as it is on the joints and this sort of thing, that mule, when you're riding them.
Very good. So the next question we got here, this one is from, where did it go? From William, and he says, your opinion on shoeing stocks. What are shoeing stocks, and then what's your opinion?
Shoeing stocks they come in a variety of ways. Shoeing stocks that I'm aware of, that I've used and been part of, is up the Grand Canyon. And what it amounts to is they lay out on a wall like this, and then it's a big old 2x6 that comes from the right and comes to the left. It squeezes the animal in between. They throw a canvas tarp across the top. That's a heavy canvas to keep him from blowing up on the top, and one goes on the bottom. And then they're able to pick up the feet of all of these animals and they're able to shoe them. Now, I can tell you that up at the Grand Canyon, up there shoeing, we could actually shoe 2 feet at one time. So one person could be shoeing the right front, the other person could be shoeing the left rear. And because the mules literally will lay in that sling, especially when they're really tough. Now, they do have other shoeing stands that can be on a trailer frame. They even have some, Dave, where they strap them down on a table and they actually lay the mule and the horse down, and they do all the shoeing and stuff with the mule laying down on its side on the horse. But I personally don't use shoeing stocks. I teach my mules to pick up their feet, and they put their foot in a shoeing stand, and then I'm able to do the shoeing and this sort of thing, no problem. And we've, like at the Phoenix Zoo, we have several small ladies that are the caregivers for these variety of horses that we have over there in mules. And, you know, they have big old draft horses, and those draft horses, we taught them to pick up the foot, hold the foot, they put the foot stand underneath, and they can do all their work to it. And even if they want to hold it up for a length of time to clean it off, we taught the horses to pick up the foot and hold it.
Very good. So the next question that we got here, this one's from Sundance Kid. What does the cup say?
Mark.
And if you have time, can you tell us a story about a mule wreck that you were in, and what did you learn? So what's the cup say? A horse will accept you as boss, but a mule wants to see your resume. All right, now tell us a wreck story.
All right, a wreck story. We're moving cows over here at the Shell Ranch in Carefree, Arizona, and I'm riding some different animals up there, training outside animals, and I was riding some horses. And this horse was an Appaloosa horse, and really kind of scatterbrained. And I was going up the side of a hill, and it was real rocky and slick. And this darn horse, he started getting scared and started stumbling. He fell down on my left leg and got me hung up. And I could tell that my left foot was still in the stirrup. So I was worried if he got up, he would drag me. So I was holding the rein with my right hand to hold the horse's head over so that he couldn't jump up real quick. And then every time he would move some, I would scoop my leg, and I finally got my leg out of the stirrup. And then I slid a little bit, and it happened to be that the horse slid to the right, and when he did, I quickly moved up to the left, and that was when I was a lot younger, and got myself out of there. It happened to be that when we were sliding on that rock, there was a sandy crevice, and it happened to be that I got hung up in there, so he didn't break anything. But my big thing was I was worried about getting hung up, and at that time I was riding what's called an oxbow stirrup, and fortunately for me, that oxbow stirrup was all wood, and it broke where I was able to get my foot out of there. But being dragged, folks, that was a lot of years ago, and I don't ride in anything now but tapaderos. And tap won't allow your foot to go through the stirrup. Yeah. And hey, Sundance Kid, it's good to see you, by God. That's Mark.
It's good to see you. And I'm sure it's always good to be seen, too, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so the next question I got here, this one's from Karen. Karen says, hi, I'm a dressage rider and have broke quite a few horse colts. I have bred several mares over the past years. I've never done anything with a mule, but I've always wanted to. Here's my question, just the tip of the iceberg. I would like to buy or lease a Jenny to breed in order to try to produce a dressage hinny. I was wondering if there are any certain donkey breeds that would be more suitable than others. We get these questions a lot. Obviously, I don't want a breed that leans more towards gaited movement. Are there donkeys known more for producing free shoulders? Where would I go for that information? I need to educate myself.
Well, donkeys are very, very lateral when they're moving, and they single foot. So it's going to be very hard to find a donkey that doesn't have some lateral movements that you're not wanting in dressage. The other thing you're going to run into with dressage is your saddle fit, because you're only riding in one single saddle. I've yet to see anybody riding correctly on a mule with an English saddle. That saddle sets on top of the scapula, bang, 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 bang. And these poor animals, that's one of the things that I hate to see, is English saddles sitting on top of the scapula, because there's no rear cinch on those. And unfortunately, people won't ride with a breeching, and that's another story. But as far as where to go, there's Eric Palmer has a nice jack that I would suggest. Probably my all-time favorite jack is Windy Ridge Maximilian. That comes a black Bart line of jacks, and they are black with silver points, keen-headed, nice-minded, and that jack is up in Montana at the DJ Bar Ranch, and his nickname is Max, but it's Windy Ridge Maximilian is his register name. Awesome jack, several-time Montana winner, and also World Championship at Bishop. I was just looking yesterday. I've got a mug from Montana 2003 where he had won the championships there. But I hope you do well with that dressage there. It's a wonderful thing, but the big problem is saddle fit.
Yep, there you go. Okay, so the next question we got, this one's from Lori. Lori says, I'm in the truck. Ray's driving, don't worry. But is there any place online that shows an easy way to adjust the big knot on the rope halter? I hated knots when I was a Girl Scout, and I still do. So maybe that's something we could do, is show a little bit more on the knots. But what do you have to say there, Steve?
Well, don't we have there on the where you buy the halter? We got a video there that shows how to adjust it.
We do. We actually have several videos. One of them, you're adjusting the halter the whole time, talking about Bishop and the World Championships. I'll find a link there.
Yeah, that's best. And I know, folks, it is difficult to try to adjust these halters, and I know I make it easy, but the easiest way, that's called a Turk's head knot, and it's right above where you put your lead rope. And the easiest way to do it is like it shows on the video. You turn your halter upside down, take your right rope and push up on it and turn it and follow it around until you come to where your loop is that you put your lead rope in, and pull it longer. That loop can be longer, folks. It don't need to be a particular size. The main thing is adjust it so that it goes around the animal's nose. So maybe we need to put that full video on there to adjust that halter.
Yes, I'm putting in the link section right now a link to adjusting the rope halter. It's about 11 minutes long, and it shows you kind of going through it, and I'm putting that on Facebook and on YouTube. The next question we got here, this is actually no, yeah, here we go.
This coffee cup was given to me by some folks in Indiana when I was there at the Hoosier. They come up and presented it to me. I saw them last year. I forget their names, darn it all. But he got bucked off a couple years ago. But anyway, that's who that coffee cup was given to me, and they said they're going to try some of that Come Along coffee.
Absolutely, that's good stuff. Okay, so the next question we got here, this one's from Preaching Cowboy over on YouTube. Hello to all of our YouTube friends. Randy Reesner from McLeod, Oklahoma. Hello, fellas. I have a 12-year-old Molly mule that is really fussing with her mouth while the bit is in. We have her teeth done. What do you suggest? Okay,
I suggest that she's probably telling you that the bit is up too high. Take the bit, loosen it up on each side, let it hang on her incisors. So that's her front teeth. Okay, here's the front teeth right here. Let it hang down bumpy. Let her spend time picking up the bit and packing it. Let her spend time doing that. Don't get in a rush. One of the downsides is, I'm pouring myself some more coffee here. Yeah, yummy. So, but one of the downside is folks want to make their mules go the original 1 wrinkle or 2 wrinkles or whatever, okay? Don't do that. Let the mule pick the bit up and pack it. And then when you do that, I'm talking about a snaffle bit here now. When he picks up that snaffle bit, don't adjust it. Leave it there. Let him pick up the bit and carry it. You can go ahead and ride and do whatever you want to do, and the mule will be just fine. But if you go to adjust it, he may change his mind and maybe like it in a different place, okay? Now, the other thing is, let's go back to the teeth. Hopefully the teeth are correct. But if you hear what we have to say about touching the button on the eye and go back and forth on the teeth, you know, sometimes these veterinarians, I've seen them maybe miss something. So you might want to consider that too.
All right. So we've got more folks chiming in here. We've got Tracy McKinnon. Good morning, Steve and Dave from Queensland, Australia. International. Hey. We went international when David and Dee hopped on.
That's right.
Let's see who else we got here. We've got Paul Adamson. Hey, beautiful day here in central Kentucky. Hey, Paul, you ever been through Paducah, Kentucky? That's where all my family's from. We've got Jack from Johannesburg, Michigan, about 50 degrees here. Yolanda. Hey, Yolanda. Good to have you. Yolanda all the way from the Netherlands. Only 9 degrees Celsius here in Hollanda. David Pengelly, have just gone to Tapaderos. After all these years, my dad used to make me ride with them. Couldn't wait to ride in open stirrups. Now at 71, I'm back in the taps.
Good for you.
That's wisdom right there. That's wisdom.
Yeah, boy, stay between the traces.
DeWitt says, hey, I'm here. Better late than never, watching from Camp Verde. Good to have all these familiar faces here. How fantastic. We've got Sean Ray, says, Sean from Idaho, buying my first mule in a couple of months. Love the great information. Love the videos. Keep up the great work. Sean, it's our pleasure. We're glad you're here. Sean's watching over on YouTube. We've got Joey saying, watching from Arizona. My question is, how can I get my mule to accept a bridle? She lets me work with her ears, but as soon as I go to put on the bridle, she starts to throw her head. Any ideas there?
Yeah, well, that happens a lot, Dave. It's in the top 10 problems for sure. And it's probably I'm going to say number 5 of the top 10. And this is the problem, is that most of the time the brow band is not wide enough. Folks, you need 18 or 19 inches on the brow band. That's number 1. Number 2, everybody makes this mistake, and they do not put the bridle on loose. They put it on the same as they have for the past 5 years. Don't do that. Loosen the bridle up when you're done for the day. Take it off the mule's head. Now, when you go to put it on, you put a loose bridle on, because this is what's happened. You've been banging that mule's bars of his mouth when you put the bit on. So now to keep you from banging on his mouth, he throws his head. And then everybody thinks that he's ear shy. No, no, no. You bumped his mouth. And there's the problem. So until you might want to think about the bit. Most of these bits are designed for a horse. So you have to remember that when you're fitting up a mule, you want to develop palate communication when you have a finish. So I don't know what bit he's using, but loosen that bit up, folks. Let it hang down 2 or 3, 4 notches. And when you go to put it on, let the mule pick up the bit and pack it. Give him time. When he packs it, adjust it to that spot. When he has a good foundation where it is. When it's a fresh mule with a snaffle bit, you do not adjust it for 6 months. But when you have a finished bit, yes, you adjust it to the spot that they like it.
Very good. Bits, that's something. There's always just lots of questions about the bits, about the bridles, lots of different things to get started. I'll put a link again in the comment section so folks can go check out the article that we got, everything you need to know about mule bits. That's been a really, really helpful one. Next question we got. This is a really good one. I like this question a lot. This one comes from James. He left a comment or sent in a message on Facebook. Says, I just got a 12-year-old mule that they used to ride and work. They say he was a good one, but no one has fooled with him for about 6 years. He had a good home, just no real attention. I'm new to mules, and I would like to know how to start bonding and trying to ride him again.
Well, the riding is not the important part. Obviously, the mule knows how to do that. You want to do the bonding, do it on the mule's level, down on the ground. You want to do ground communication skills. Hey, Dave, we got that new kit, that ground communication kit.
Yeah.
That is awesome. It's got a video that shows you how to, and it's got a halter, and it's got the come-along rope. The kit together helps you to have a good communication. So where do I start with any animals? Folks, when you bring them, when you bring that new animal home, do not put it out in a pasture with a whole bunch of other animals. Don't do that. It's easy for them to go out to the other animals and spend time with them. What I want you to do is learn to be the herd leader. So put them in a small pen. I have 10 by 20 is what I like to use, and they have to depend upon you. I can't tell you how many people I have, Dave, every single week that tell me they have a hard time catching one, or they got a brand new mule and now they can't do anything with it. Do not do that, folks. For 6 months, put them in a small pen. That's where they stay. And as far as I'm concerned, the rest of their life, they don't need to go out in that pasture and go on smorgasbord.
Yeah. That's the thing. Mules can't stand that type of prosperity, right?
No, they don't need it, folks. I mean, they don't need it, just like you and I don't need to be in a smorgasbord. Hey, Dave, I made a mistake when I was up in Indiana. We were out there, the hotel's pretty close to several restaurants. And they got this Golden Corral. And they had ribs is what their specialty was. Ooh. And I am a sucker for ribs. Oh, I got over there and I foundered myself on ribs all that night. I could hardly sleep. I ate too much. But here's what happens, folks. These mules cannot stand prosperity. You can't put them on all that rich feed and all that pasture and expect them to stay healthy. It ain't going to happen.
Yeah. You give it the word rocket fuel. Unless you're going to go out there and start working them, and they need those carbs, they need those sugars, they need that energy. It's just going to be rocket fuel winding them up and cause a whole bunch of trouble. I put a link to that in the comments there. A link to the Mules Can't Stand Prosperity. Great video. Joey came back and he says he's using a Snaffle Bit, and he said he was the one with the question about the mule getting accepting the bridle using a Snaffle Bit. Yeah,
folks. I've talked about it a lot of times, but look, your bridle has to fit its use. So just don't put a bit on a bridle and think I got it. No. A Snaffle Bit has to have a particular perch on the side cheeks, and a finished bit has to have a particular perch for the finished bit. And when you always remember, too, their ears are bigger, so they have to have brow band 18 or 19 inches. That's what you got to have.
Yeah. So we've got Nat chiming in from over on YouTube. Nat
my granddaughter.
Says, that's right. My mule will not take the left lead. I've been doing what we talked about over the phone. She has zero problems taking the right lead. Any comments?
Well, try to take the leads in a big circle, not a small circle. So let's just say you're going along the fence line, and you want to turn back in the fence line. Do it from quite a ways around, and take your hand and bump them, and then go around, bump them, go around, bump them, go around. Do a little bit at a time, and feel that leg coming out. Now, sometimes, especially on if they've had saddles on them before that didn't fit, they've got that scapula has been bumped a little bit from a horse tree that's kind of pointed, and so you could have a problem from that from the past. But best thing I can tell you, Nat, is to go and make big circles and then go from big to small a little bit at a time, and just be patient. It's a problem you inherited, most likely, huh?
Question following up on the bit conversation. Audrey says, "What bit do you recommend?" And we talked about that a little bit earlier on. I just put a link to the article a few moments ago. But really, if I recall what we put in that article, you start with one particular bit for training, mule rider's martingale, right? With the double twisted wire snaffle bit. And then from there, you move to the trail riding bit, which is the finished bit. And that is the one that you use for riding. And you ride with one hand on that because it's for... Is that the one for refined communication?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And so you ride with that one, and then on the driving side, you start with the mule rider's martingale, but then you move to the snaffle bit, and the snaffle bit for driving. Is that correct?
Yeah, that would be a full cheek double twisted wire snaffle. And then after that, you would go into a Liverpool for driving.
Very good. That's right. Trying to remember there, but it really is broken down pretty well in that article. It goes through all the different types of bits, mouthpieces, correctional mouthpieces, talk a little bit about hackamores, mule riders, martingale, but we go through, but that's essentially what it comes down to, and that's what Steve says he winds up using. So Audrey, I would go through, and I would just familiarize yourself with that article because it's really, really precise when it comes to recommending what you need to use for here or there. Now, if you have specific questions about behavior or things like you're hearing from Joey saying, here's what my mule's doing with the bridle, be sure to come back and ask us those. But when it comes to just what bit to use, that article does a really good job of explaining why you want to use the ones that Steve recommends. Let's see here. Kevin said, when we were talking about rope halters a little bit earlier, Kevin said, I found that if the mule has pulled against that halter very much, the knots are really tight. I've used pliers to get them loose. Do you use pliers to get those knots loose too?
Yeah. Usually when they get that tight, is this Kevin Albright?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. When they pull them that tight, Kevin, it's really difficult to get it undone between using a Phillips screwdriver and the pliers. But I usually would put it in a little bit of bucket of fabric softener first. But once they're tight, that's usually then, if it tightens up correctly, will fit that particular mule. And then I have another halter for another mule, so I don't use the same halter for every mule. Each mule's got his own halter and adjusted up for his use.
Very good. So here we go.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Right. I hope Ricky's there with Kevin.
Very good. So, Ricky, while you're chiming in and saying hello, we got a first-time watcher here. This is one of my buddies. This is Mr. Garrett Fitzpatrick, and he was sending me some text messages while we're broadcasting. So I sent him a link. I said, "You got any mule questions?" So he popped in. He's got a question. He says, is a mule a good starting ride for kids? Not necessarily to own, but to get comfortable with riding. Anything I should consider before getting them started with riding?
Yeah, I mean, the mules are awesome for anybody to ride. Unfortunately, a lot of people put them on Shetland ponies, and they're nasty, bad temperaments. Up at the Friendly Pines camp, we had the Mule Brigade, and boy, we had those kids anywhere from 8 years old up to 16, and boy, those kids love riding those mules because we could go anywhere. The big thing is, folks, when you're getting a mule for your kids or for the mule for the family or whatever, disposition. You got to remember they're an animal; they can still make mistakes. And I'll tell you what, Dave, I've seen some of these kids ride better than me.
Yeah, you know what? One thing that you've said over and over is just the bond that these kids form. A lot of times it's associated with the girls and their equine, but some of these kids, they just wind up forming an incredible bond with these animals and can do some pretty incredible things when you stop to think about their age, juxtaposition of what they're actually doing, you know?
Yeah, they have no fear, and they ride so centered. It's incredible. I've seen some pictures of Nat riding, and she's so centered and so right in there, you know. It's amazing. And these girls, they seem to set her saddle really good. When I've had competitions in the past, I knew it was really difficult for us guys to try to beat a girl in Western pleasure classes because they set a saddle so very nice.
Yeah. So let's do this. We've got one more question. Just came in from Susan Smith in Central America, International.
Wow.
They tie a bit, let's see. She says in Central America. They tie a bit of the tail hair up to the saddle string, pulling it up a bit to the side. When I first bought my Millie, I had trouble with her going forward until I did this. I guess she was used to it. What gives? Have you heard of this? Tying a bit of the tail hair up to the saddle string, pulling it up a bit and to the side. You ever heard of that?
That's a new one on me, the tail hair.
Yeah.
Now, I have tailed mules back in the old days. I've taken and tied the halter with a short piece of twine to their tail and have them go around in circles, but I've never heard of that. That's a new one on me.
Just goes to show, I mean, as many years you've been into this, finding out new things all the time, things that you never heard of, things that, and I love that about what we get to do here is that, hey, what you've said so many times, Steve, is I'm always changing things when I learn something new from the mule. When I hear the mule and I see the mule telling me something, I'll make adjustments. And so you've made adjustments to your saddles. You've made adjustments to the way that you tack them up. You've made adjustments to the way you do the breeching. You've made adjustments to the bits. You know, we've got a video out on Facebook. And do you remember this video where it's like, you know, folks, I want to talk to you about your bits. You've got, you know, pretty bits. You've got ugly bits. You've got pretty ugly bits. You know that one?
Yeah.
So someone put a comment in the comment section saying something along the lines of those bits must not be all that bad if he has all of them. And I responded back to him. I said, lots of mistakes that get to be hung up on the wall, right? Always making changes, always learning new things. You know, talk to me a little bit about just those moments where you've gotten frustrated in the past, feeling like, I don't know how I'm going to reach this animal. Talk to me a little bit about that for the folks who might be feeling that exact same way. Is you know, Steve's got all these answers. I see other people make it look so easy, and I just can't seem to get it.
Yeah, I've had a lot of frustrating times. For instance, with the mule rider's martingale, I kept trying to figure out how to get my mule to be comfortable and how to pay attention. I was riding this one mule, and boy, he just was getting the best of me. And the other guys that were riding with me, the Cowboys and Packers, you know, they tried different things too and just couldn't get him to work. And, you know, like I said earlier in the program, I always loosen my bit up before I take it off. Then the mule can spit out the bit nice and quiet and easy. And so I always done that. And then once I put it in the mule's mouth, I tightened it up. You know, that's what I did. But I always loosened it up so that the mule could take it out easy. Well, I'm riding this mule and just driving me crazy. And then one day I climb on this mule, and this mule was responsive, going quick, easy, everything. And I said to the guys, hey, look here, look at this. And everybody was amazed. I said, wow, he did a good job today. I'm going to go ahead and put him up early. So I went to pull the bridle off, and Dave, the bit was hanging down, bumping the front teeth. I thought, oh, man, I could have been killed, because back then, and up to today now, people are always taught 1 wrinkle or 2 wrinkles. And I thought, oh, man, I had that bit too low. But then the other guys started saying, wait a minute, Steve, today was your best ride. The mule did great. Let's do it again. So I did. I put the bridle on loose. Dave, that mule reached down, picked up that bit, and carried it. I climbed on him. I started riding him, and it was like poetry. He did it. So he did everything just right. That is how I learned from the mule. Let him pick up the bit and carry it. And don't be in a hurry to adjust it. Let it hang for 6 months. And make sure it's evenly hung too, folks. But the mule will pick up the bit. He'll pack that snaffle bit. He'll know. Then in 3 months, you can start introducing the finished bit, okay? That finished bit you can start introducing, and then by 6 months, you'll be completely away from the mule rider's martingale. You'll be riding totally in a finished bit. 4 to 6 hours a week is all. Folks, you don't have to ride these animals every day. It's not important. Don't do it. You'll blow their mind out, okay? So that's how I learned about packing the bit, Dave.
Yeah,
you know?
that's great. We had a couple questions come in while you were chatting there, so we'll end with these real quick. Tammy says, question, does your mule learn from being ponied?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely, they learn. You know, for one thing, it's natural for them. Follow one in behind the other. It's natural. They're following a leader. They learn from the lead rope. Now, make sure that lead rope is loose. And then when they go to, you feel the lead rope get snug, then you give them a sharp bump, because what happens is they're supposed to follow on a loose lead, but then if they try to do their own thing and they see the lead rope get tight, a couple sharp reprimands tells them, come back and get straight. Get back in there straight, like they get between the traces. I'm going to remember that one. That was a good one. You know,
that was pretty good. Yeah.
I can see a church service coming up, cowboy church service. I'm going to talk about, hey, make sure you're between the traces.
That'll preach.
Yeah, boy.
Let's see here. Debbie chimed in on that hair tie thing where you take a piece of the hair, tie it to the side of the saddle.
Oh, wait a
Debbie
minute.
Says,
yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, Debbie says it's kind of like twisting the tail on a cow to make them move through a chute. I've seen it done on riding donkeys.
Oh, okay. First, when you were doing this, because you use bangs of a horse is another way to tie up a bit. But how about that, to do that on donkeys? Well, I suppose you can give that a try. Usually on cattle, you pull it straight up. This we pull to the side. It'd be new one on me. I've never seen it.
Nicole had a question. Asked, are you taking on apprentices right now?
No, Nicole, I've actually quit doing the apprenticeship program. I've got several of them out there and this sort of thing, and I've just decided that I'm going to not doing that anymore, but I appreciate the offer. Thank you.
Here's the last question, and then I got a comment from Yolanda. This is Mindy, and Robert says, I've been riding a donkey that will let a man lead him, but will plant all fours when I try to lead him. So I'm guessing that's Mindy typing. Love my saddle, by the way. So the riding donkey will follow a male, but won't follow a female.
Yeah, there's a difference in a touch there. Hey, Mindy, get the come-along hitch and start working that donkey, and he'll follow you as well.
He doesn't want his nose to be. He's not going to want that nose to be on the sword there. We had a last comment here. I'll put a link to the Ground Foundation starting kit. Yolanda says, you know, the love of Jesus is more than all the mules on this planet, but thanks to him, we're allowed to take care of his beautiful animals. My mule is truly a gift from God. Amen. We're super glad to have these animals to be able to enjoy, to be able to form community around, spend time chatting about them. And so, folks, thank you so much for taking time to hang out with us today. It's been a pleasure. It always is. It's fun to see a lot of y'all week after week after week, and it's going to be real fun when the day comes when you get to shake one another's hand and say, hey, you're the one that was on the other end of this Facebook chat here, all these broadcasts. So it's a pretty special thing we get to be a part of. Steve, is there anything you'd like to say before we call this week end?
Hey, a big deal is coming up, buddy. Big deal is coming up, and it is Bishop Mule Days.
Tell me all about it.
Yeah, Memorial Day weekend. I mean to tell you, folks, I'm going to be AIing cows and working cows and stuff myself. I'm already committed, but Bishop Mule Days is coming up. Bobby Tanner's going to have them brand new wagons out there with the 20 mule team hooked up to it and taken out. They're going to have the pack contest. They're going to have Western Pleasure. You ain't never seen so many mules, and pretty mules too, and all kinds of stuff going on. So that's coming up, folks. And if you don't have tickets by now and camping spots by now, boy, that's going to be tough on you. I'd sure be making movements. But, hey, that Bishop Mule Days, you got to see at least once in your lifetime and give that a run.
Awesome. You know what I'm going to do? Go ahead.
I just remembered there was another Mule Days that some people had invited me to. I think it was in Missouri. What was that? Oh, my golly. I meant to write that down and tell you about it. But they had invited me. Evidently, they've got a mule challenge or something like that too. But folks, if you go on the internet, you'll see all kinds of mule days. But just wanted to tell you about Bishop and give that a try one time in your lifetime.
Yeah, there's a bunch of mule days. I mean, I just did a quick search here on Google. Benson Mule Days. We got Tennessee, Maury County Mule Days. You got Tropic, Bruce Canyon Mule Days. Lots of different mule days. When you remember it, let us know. Folks, I'm going to put a link in the comment section to Bishop Mule Days. If you have been to Bishop Mule Days, I want you to click on this link and leave a review. And in the review, say, Steve Edwards told me that I needed to tell everyone how awesome Bishop Mule Days is.
Yeah,
all right? So only if you've been there. If you haven't been there, you don't leave a review just yet. You got to get yourself out there. But if you have been to Bishop Mule Days, click on this link, leave a review for them, give them a 5-star review, and say, Steve Edwards told me I had to tell everyone how awesome Bishop Mule Days is. Folks, that's all for us. Thanks so much for hanging out. You can call Steve if you need him, 602-999-6853. You can find his number on his website, muleranch.com. And, of course, you can always send us a message, support@muleranch.com. We're happy to help you. Want to do everything that we can. Be sure to leave a voicemail if you do call Steve, and he'll get back to you. Steve, thanks so much for taking some time. We'll see you next week.
Hey, Dave, once again, it's been awesome, buddy. I'm looking forward to this weekend. We get a chance to see David Scholl. We're going to mess with some mules and get them 3 kids in the saddle on them mules and see what they have to say. It's going to be fun.
Lots of video, lots of pictures. We'll share it all with y'all next week. Take care. God bless.
All right. Bye-bye. Blessings.